Hello, my fellow Americans and honored guests. My name is Steve Mozena. You may call me Uncle Steve, or US for short. Actually, what I'm going to do over a series of weeks is let you know my ideas to help save America and put it back to financial health. And I think one of the most important things is to teach our young the benefits of capitalism. And one of the ways that I actually learned was through an organization called Junior Achievement. You can check it out online at ja.org. Here's a book that you can actually buy on Amazon. It talks about the history, and if you go to the website ja.org, you can learn more about it as well. One of the things about JA is that when I was in it, it actually had a program where you could go either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday night, and you could actually start your own company at the beginning of an academic year and then close up shop at the end of the year. And for example, you could come up with your own product, whatever it may be, and usually, like for example, one year we made what's called triangulation, or a tic-tac-toe board made out of wood, and then we marketed it and then sold it to people, and in fact even businesses. One year we actually made cheese slicers, and I actually ended up selling them to what now is the Macy's store, and I sold 125 cheese slicers to a Macy's store, and it was quite an accomplishment for a guy of like 17 years old. So it was absolutely a great organization where you fundamentally learn how to start a business and then how to close a business. You issued stock to basically closing the business. You had a president, a vice president, treasurer, vice president of sales, etc. It's a great organization, and I think what we should do is that, for example, there were even awards in it. As you can see here, I won Salesman of the Month, and I won Most Total Sales. But this organization has actually, over the past 20 plus years, become a phenomenal organization where it's now actually able to go into the classroom at kindergarten all the way up through high school. Can you imagine that? The kids learning about how to start their own business by the organizations, and usually it's business leaders in the local community going to the class. But we don't have that. Our school is actually more concerned with talking about recycling and the environment. Now, come on, I mean, certainly that has its place, with the paper and the plastic controversy, but we have to teach our kids about the advantages of capitalism and how to start a business. I've been running my business over 20 years now, and what's the saddest thing is that one time I had my wife, who's from the Philippines, and I had 3 of my employees, and I asked them who was on the dollar bill. And the only one that knew was my wife, who wasn't even born here in the U.S. She knew it was our first president, George Washington. Come on now. It's ridiculous. And that shouldn't happen, And then one of the students that went through the LA Unified system here, I mean, she can barely do math. And yet I basically still hire those two people to this day. And I use the other one from time to time. But it's sad to think that, a foreign national would actually know more about the first president of the United States than our own citizens who actually spend the money. But again, the first thing that I would like to do to solve the problem is I'd like to have, from K through senior year, junior achievement programs at every grade level. In fact, I remember teaching my one employee. She didn't know how to write a check, and it's like a basic business education system. And this kind of shows you. Now, one of the things, for example, let's get back to my wife. One of the things where she's from is the Philippines, where they have lots of coconuts. There's a phrase there in the Philippines that the coconut is too high. Is it? My wife was told time and time again that the coconut was too high for her to come to America. And yet, through a series of determination, relentlessness, perseverance, she got to America. She got her coconut. It's pretty high up there on the tree, but she got it. One of the ways that she did it, now, this is not exactly a coconut macaroon, but when she was a little girl, see how it says Coconut Dreams? Wow. Well, she sold coconut macaroons that she and her mom would make, and she'd sell them around the neighborhood to make some money. And, and she learned the entrepreneurial spirit even back then in the Philippines. And she worked her way, and through a series of things, she got her coconut. But similarly, in the United States, remember the old days? Sure you do, some of you that are my age. I'm 52. Do you remember Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid stands? Putting water This has already sugar in it. Can you see that? Can you see that? Just there it is. There it is. Kool-Aid, voila, Kool-Aid sandwich. There is so much bureaucratic red tape that doesn't support businesses that my 10-year-old daughter can't even put up a Kool-Aid stand without getting a business permit. Come on. They've got to understand that. In fact, even though we have an issue with the illegal immigration right now, let's set that aside and look at the entrepreneurial spirit some of those guys have and some of the women have. Selling oranges on the corner, selling flowers, selling what's called elodie, the corn with mayonnaise on it on a stick, or a mango on a stick. And a bacon-wrapped hot dogs. All of these things foster that entrepreneurial spirit. The one thing in me is that I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life. And you know who it started with? My dad. My dad, he was an immigrant, basically from Italy. He came over in 1927, worked hard, got a good education, and ended up graduating high school. He was a straight A student all the way through. And in fact, then he met my wife during World War II, and she was a war bride. And I'll say more about Mom in a second. But my dad, here he is. I still have the letter from 1954 when he bought his business. After working from basically 45 to 54, he actually was a #1 salesman, and he bought it with hard work. And you know what? His parents were basically poor. They were dirt poor when they came to the United States looking for the opportunity. And my dad ended up owning his own company, and he taught me that. In addition to it, he married my mom at a war bride. They met during a St. Patrick's dance over in England. And my mom, being full Irish and having that great Irish spirit, she came over and raised me as one of the 8 kids. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. And you know what she did? She had her own bed and breakfast. Well, first she actually had a second-hand store. And then you know what she did? After my father passed an untimely death of an early death, my mom, with the man that she married, she started the first bed and breakfast. Now, her mom had owned a boarding house in England, but the thing is that my mom started the first bed and breakfast in Portland, and you know what, as a tribute to this capitalism and to the opportunity, you know what she called it? The Portland's White House. She ran it for 13 years and sold it back in about 1996, and it still operates today. It looks like the White House. And so, the entrepreneurial spirit lives in my parents and lives in me. I own a couple of companies. I own an electronic textbook company and hardback custom publishing company as well as a medical supply company. Look, I'm not as successful as Governor Romney, nor a lot of things, but I'm out here on the front lines where I experience a lot of the things that I think make America great. And the one thing that I'd like to see America start right now with is let's start getting the students involved from the beginning. You think about it. China's Red Book that taught communism, that indoctrinated all these kids. You know what thing the Junior Achievement does? It teaches you how to be self-sufficient and fun and be creative and come up with your own ideas. All the different things people come up with. Think about it. Think about just what, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, the Wright brothers. All these different people over the history of our nation. And you can do that too. Your children can do that too. And yet we want to have an attitude now where we're slothful and lazy, where we get free handouts. No, we don't. I'll talk to you about people that whether you're a handicapped person, you know what? My sister works what's called in a group home for most of her life, where she made like the trays for airline for airline food. And there's no reason that you need to sit back and not participate and try to make your life better economically by owning your own business or working for someone that does. There's a lot of advantages. Look for my dad. My dad worked for a company for about 14, 15, 20 years, and he eventually bought it. Look, the same thing could happen to you. What company you're working for, you could buy, or you could start your own. And the thing is, there's so many advantages of the capitalism system. I don't know. And by the way, I don't have a teleprompter. I'm just talking from my heart. And by the way, you can see over my shoulder here that one of the things I've been trying for over the past 13 years is to get the government to post all their finances on a daily basis, like an online checking account for fiscal honesty and accountability, starting with each politician's own office expenses, which is easy to do because it's all electronic. So let's just talk about getting back to my main point. One of the first way that I'd like to see us in America help solve our economic crisis is, excuse me, let me play with my mouse here and get that solved. But the thing is that let's get the kids to learn about business in America, how to do it, and basically the practicality of it, the advantages of it, and learning how to write a check. And in fact, why don't you learn who's on a dollar bill as well? Anyway, my name is Steve Mozena. You can call me Uncle Steve or US, but this is a series of talks that I'm going to be giving about my solutions. And again, the first solution is to have JA in all schools across the United States from K to 12 and teach them about business. The students need to learn about it, and plus, it's a wonderful thing to learn everything from check writing to debit cards to starting their own business, making their own products, and learning how to make what number one, and to get to be better off than their parents were. Again, thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to talking to you. And I've got a lot of good ideas, and I'm sure that it will help America. Again, thank you for your time, and looking forward to talking to you more.